If your child is clearly exhausted, yawning, rubbing their eyes, but bedtime still takes an hour or two or more, and somehow they seem more awake when you start their bedtime routine, that's not your imagination, and it's not defiance either. There's something happening in their body, and once you understand it, a lot of what's been confusing starts to make sense. I'm Diane Luzny. I work with moms of kids on the autism spectrum, ages 4 to 12, who are struggling with sleep. A question I hear often is some version of, they're exhausted, so why won't they fall asleep? It seems like it should be that simple, but what's actually happening at bedtime has very little to do with how tired your child is and everything to do with what their nervous system is able to do. That's what this video is about. Point 1, tired doesn't equal ready to sleep. We're taught to think if a child is tired enough, they'll fall asleep. Run them around all day, they'll crash at night. And for a lot of kids, that's true. But for kids on the spectrum, there's a step in between, and it doesn't always happen automatically. Their body has to be able to settle, to shift from alert to safe to sleep. Being exhausted and being able to switch off are two different things. Here's a metaphor that might help. Imagine you just worked a brutal 12-hour day. You're running on nothing. Fumes are even gone. You finally get into bed and your brain won't stop. You're replaying conversations, running through tomorrow's list, noticing every sound in the house. You are completely exhausted and completely unable to sleep. That feeling, that wired but tired place, is much closer to what your child is living every single night. It's not that they aren't tired, they are. Their body just hasn't shifted out of that on state yet. And until it does, sleep isn't coming, no matter how good your routine is. Point 2, why they seem to be more awake at bedtime. Here's the part that really throws people when it happens. You'd expect more tired equals more sleep. That's the logic, right? Wear them out and they'll wind down. What you might see is more tired equals more active, more wired, harder to settle. And that looks exactly like defiance, but it's not. Think about what happens when a toddler skips a nap. They don't get quieter in the afternoon, they get louder, more emotional, harder to manage. That's not them choosing to be difficult. That's an overtired nervous system that's lost its ability to regulate. Your child is doing the same thing, just in a bigger body and perhaps every night. What you might see: more movement, silliness that ramps up out of nowhere, sudden bursts of energy, inability to stay still, small things becoming big things. That's not your child fighting you. That's their nervous system saying, I don't know how to switch off yet. And until I feel safe enough to do that, I'm staying switched on. Even something tiny, a noise from another room, a car door outside, a change in the brightness of a light, can pull them right back into alert. Their system is that close to the edge. Point 3, why bedtime is where it all shows up. Moms tell me they were mostly okay all day, and then bedtime, everything falls apart. I get why that's confusing, because it makes it look like bedtime is the problem. But here's what's actually happening. Bedtime is the first time all day where everything slows down. Distractions disappear. The TV is off. The activity stops. And your child's nervous system has to finish processing everything that it's been carrying from the moment they got up. School, transitions, sensory input, social demands, all of it lands at bedtime because that's the first quiet moment it gets. It's a bit like shaking a snow globe all day and then expecting it to clear the moment you set it down. The snow doesn't settle instantly. It needs time. And if the shaking was even more intense, it takes even longer. I know that analogy doesn't quite work, but you get my drift. Anyway, your child's nervous system is that snow globe. Bedtime is when you set it down. And what you're seeing, the resistance, the restlessness, the long delays, that's the snow still swirling. Bedtime isn't creating the problem. It's just where the problem finally shows up. What you can do. Tonight, watch for one thing. As you move toward bedtime, not just at lights out, but the hour before the bedtime routine begins, watch whether your child gets more active as bedtime approaches. Not normal busy, more movement, more energy, more clingy, more reactive, harder to redirect. Why this matters. Most people read that pattern as they're not tired enough or they're fighting sleep. But what it's actually telling you is something different. Their body is struggling to shift out of that alert state. The switch from on to safe enough to sleep isn't happening on its own. That's a completely different problem than not being tired. And it needs a completely different kind of support. Not a better routine, not a later routine, not more rules. The reframe. Instead of, I need to make them more tired, shift to, their body doesn't know how to move from alert to safe. That's what needs support. That one shift changes how you see the evening. I've linked a guide below that walks you through what to do in the moment when you're seeing that kind of behavior, what it actually means, and what helps it in real time. Once you can see the difference between being tired and being able to settle, a lot of things that haven't made sense before start to click. In the next video, I'm going to show you what to watch for earlier in the evening, before the routine even starts. And it's quietly setting up the whole evening. Once you know what to look for, you'll spot it every time. See you there.